Welcome back! My name is Caleb Oliver and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the book entitled The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. But before we start, just comment the phrase down below, next door. Alright, let's get started. The book, The Millionaire Next Door, can be summarized in the following three statements. Live below your means, don't look wealthy, be wealthy, and don't accept too much financial help from your parents or it may disable your abilities to earn in the future. Let's dive a little bit more deeply into these ideas as I share with you the top 5 ideas I got from reading The Millionaire Next Door. First we have number 1. And number 1 here is wealth, not income. So wealth determines how financially successful you are, not your income. Wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend. This is important to note because many people earn a lot of money, but also spend most of it. And because of this, they are not really wealthy. In this book, they created a little formula that you can use to see if you are really wealthy, and it takes into consideration your age and your income. So this is the formula here. 1/10 your age times your annual income. This is how they compare people to see if they are really wealthy based on both their age and their income. Because as you know, it's a little bit different for everybody. But using this formula, you get to gauge your finances. So after doing this calculation, if you have the amount of money that's shown in the calculation, then you're considered wealthy. And if you're significantly below it, then you are not quite wealthy yet. Also, to be wealthy is to consider one's net worth, which is the current value of one's assets minus their liabilities. To add to this idea, if you really want to be wealthy, do these following things. Don't look wealthy, but be wealthy. In the book, wealthy people are referred to as PAWs, or prodigious accumulators of wealth. So when you hear PAWs, those are the people who are really wealthy. And then the people who are not really wealthy, they just look like it, they are UAWs, and that stands for under accumulators of wealth. So PAWs, the real wealthy people, UAWs, they're not really wealthy, they just kind of look like it. People who are really wealthy, they don't do the following, contrary to popular belief. They don't live in rich neighborhoods, they don't buy and drive the newest and most fancy cars, they don't buy expensive clothes and jewelry and watches, and they don't even eat expensive food. Instead of buying these expensive things, they save this money and invest it, and that's how they actually become wealthy. Now we have number 2. And number 2 here is how to become wealthy. In the book, it mentions the 7 common denominators to gaining wealth. So let's quickly review them here. Number 1 is live below your means, and we kind of already went over that. Instead of spending all your money on all this expensive stuff, live below your means, save that money, and invest the difference, and that's how you become wealthy. Number 2 is allocate your time and money in a way that's beneficial to building wealth. So it's important to spend your time looking at investments and planning your budgets. That way you will be able to build wealth instead of just spending your money frivolously. Number 3 here is financial independence is more important than showing off high financial status. And that goes back to living frugally, living below your means. The real wealthy people are not focused on showing off their wealth with all this money. Instead, they focus on saving and investing their money so they can actually be financially successful. And number 4 here is their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. We're going to go into that a little bit more deeply in one moment, but basically that means their parents did not give them a lot of money. Number 5 here is their adult children are economically self-sufficient. This is important because if their kids struggle financially, the parents would want to help them, but in helping them, they're actually making themselves less wealthy. So it's important that your kids actually become economically self-sufficient. Number 6 here is they are proficient in targeting market opportunities. So they have enough money saved, so when a good investment presents themselves, they can put their money down and take advantage of it. And also number 7 we have here is they choose the right occupation. So by doing these things, this is how the wealthy people either become wealthy or they stay wealthy. And now we have number 3. Number 3 here is economic outpatient care, or as the book likes to shorten it, EOC. So these people are people who continually receive large amounts of money from their parents and sometimes grandparents. And this money helps pay for their tuition. Sometimes this money buys them a house. Sometimes this money comes in the form of cash gifts to prop up their inflated lifestyle. And sometimes these cash gifts help their children start businesses. And quickly, I want to mention this story from the book. There was a set of parents and they wanted to help their daughter start a business. So they gave her, if not all, they gave her most of the money to start this business. They also allowed her to live at home so she didn't have to worry about a rent or a mortgage. They really wanted to protect her and set her up for financial future, or so they thought, but they were actually hurting her. They even gave her $60,000 a year until she started making money in the business to kind of help her out financially. So she was basically being paid a salary to do nothing. And watch this, even though she had all this money, she still had an annual payment of $7,000 in credit card fees and interest payment. When I heard this, I almost lost my mind. I was like, what? She's receiving $60,000 a year, but she's in debt $7,000 each year paying credit card fees and interest? Like, come on. Oh my goodness, just wow. So what we can learn from this is giving money consistently to children affects their mind and it dampens their productivity, so they don't want to work as hard. In effect, what's happening is they're being crippled or they're being disabled. The more dollars they receive, the less they accumulate. Statistically speaking, of course, that's what the book said. So don't give so much money to your children. Instead, what you should do is you should give them education, and you should also focus on the child's independent thoughts and deeds and teach them leadership skills. When you do this, you actually teach them to be independent and they won't need to rely on your money so much, and then they can actually go and become financially successful on their own. The book mentions this quote here, teach your own to live on their own. And that reminds me of this quote here, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for his lifetime. So it's so important to educate people so they can become financially successful on their own. And I just want to say, if you're getting any value out of this video, just click the like button down below. Also, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll be notified the moment I post my next video. And just comment the phrase down below, next door. And also, we're going to do a question of the day here. Have you ever received money from your parents and did it negatively impact you? Just leave a comment down below. I want to hear your stories, or if you heard any stories of people who received money and it wasn't that good for them. So let me know if you've heard any stories like that. Just comment that down below. Doing things like this really helps support my channel and it helps my content get pushed to a larger audience. And for doing this, I say thank you. Now we have number 4. And number 4 here is self-employed versus employees. This is a similar idea to number 3. This idea is when somebody receives too much help, it can hinder that person. Self-employed people plan more time to invest and budget their money because they have to take care of everything themselves. Their investments, their health insurance, if they're going to make money this month, all of that. And because of that, they are better off financially. However, employees have a lot of this taken care of for themselves. As long as they show up to work, they're going to make money, and then their job gives them a 401k. And because of this, they don't look at their investments as much. Because of this, they end up suffering because it was done for them. They never learned how to do it for themselves. They never really looked at their investments, and they never really became fully financially successful, especially when compared to the self-employed person. The idea here again is, if it is done for you, you become lazy and you never become proficient at the skill of gaining wealth. Then you end up suffering financially. So just make sure you learn how to be financially independent so you will have long-term financial success. And now we have number 5. Number 5 here is buy a used car. Wealthy people buy used cars to save money, and that's a big idea that they pushed in this book. Most wealthy people are not concerned with buying new cars and showing off. Because they buy used cars, they get to save money on appreciation, they get to save money on car maintenance, they also save money on the costs associated with buying new and luxurious cars, and most importantly, they have more money to invest and secure a successfully financial future. So the idea here is save money on the car so you can put your money in a more important place, in the stock market or in some asset that will actually generate income for yourself, that will generate wealth for yourself. Most importantly, these wealthy people have more money to invest because they bought a used car, and by investing this money, they secure a successful financial future. Now, the people who look wealthy but are not actually wealthy, they spend a great deal of their time trying to find a great deal when buying a new car. There was one guy in the book, he spent 6 months of going to different dealerships and calling dealerships just to save money on a car. But I was thinking, if he put all that energy and time, instead of into buying a new car, if he put that energy and time into investing, he would have been so much better off. Because even though he had these new cars and he was looking good, he had very little to no money invested. So instead of putting in all this time and energy into buying a new car, just put that same time and energy into investing, and he would have been financially successful. So what we can learn from this is be sure to use your time and energy wisely to become financially successful. The Millionaire Next Door is a great book, and I would recommend it to anyone. This book highlights the basic things people should do to become wealthy, and also avoid wasting money while trying to look wealthy. My only 2 criticisms of this book are, there were a lot of statistics in this book which made it hard to follow the story as I listened to it on the audiobook. For example, when they were talking about buying a used car, they broke up the people who bought cars into 4 different groups and they gave all the statistics. Instead, I would have preferred a rich dad, poor dad approach. When you're rich, you do this. When you're poor, you do that. It's just easier to understand as you're listening to it in the audiobook versus listening to numbers and specifically categorized groups. Also, this book spent a little bit too much time going over certain topics. For example, the EOC and also how to buy a car. They went so deep into that topic. And after a while, it's like, I get it. Don't give your kids too much money or they're going to become financially dependent on you and they're never going to reach their full financial potential. And same thing with how to buy a car. I get it. Buy a used car so you save money and you can invest the difference. But if they would have just spent a little less time on that, the book would have been a little bit shorter and it would have been a little easier to get through. But overall, this book does a great job of pointing you in the right direction on your financial journey. And I want to say, if you like this video right here, you can click right over here and watch my book review playlist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.